In this video, I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know to get started on your journey in parenting with astrology. We are going to go over all of the basics, and I'm going to teach you how to find and how to read the big 5 aspects that you need to know in order to really know your child's heart, in order to know what home feels like for your child, and in order to learn who your child is attracting into their life. What kind of friends are they attracted to? Who do they like to hang out with? So that way you can keep an eye and you can make sure that everything is going well with your child. I'm going to teach you how to do all of that today in this video. So often as parents, we ask ourselves, like, why didn't my child come with a guide? Why are they so different, right? How do I parent this child? How do I connect with this child the way that they want to be parented, the way that they want to be connected with? And, I think all of us in some way, shape, or form grew up feeling like we weren't truly known, that we weren't truly seen. And, if you're not truly seen and if you're not truly known, can you truly be loved? And so when I became a parent, that was a huge concern for me. I really wanted to deeply know my children. And when I discovered astrology, that helped me to do so in an even bigger way. I have one child who came out just like me. And of course, it's my oldest. It is my eldest daughter. And then, of course, as it always happens, my second child came out totally differently. I'm so grateful that I have had astrology ever since she was born, because I would have been confused. I would have asked myself, does she have ADD? I would have wondered, where did I go wrong? Why is she like this? I might have done a lot of comparing. I might have said,
why can't you be more like your oldest sister?
I'm just really, really grateful because I know that my parenting is so much better than it would have been if I didn't have astrology in my life. I do not want to be the only one with this knowledge. I want you to know how to read your beautiful child's chart too. And it's going to be a lot of information. And I know that you are busy. You are a parent. And so you are probably doing other things while you're listening to this, and you don't have time to take copious amounts of notes. So I have compiled everything for you in an easy to follow workbook. Go ahead, click the link in the description, download this workbook so that you have it. You will probably end up coming back to this video and watching it multiple times. And so you can for sure don't stop what you're doing. Continue watching this video once through, but then I want you to come back with the PDF. I want you to print it out, and I want you to take your notes and follow along because that will be really, really supportive for you. And it also includes some talking points and fun activities that you can do with your child in order to really bring them into the conversation and start kind of cross-referencing and making sure that what I'm saying really is true about your child. Do not take what I say at face value. I want you to compare what I'm saying about your child and what you're seeing in the astrology chart with your own personal experience and with your child's experience, okay? You are mom, you are dad, and your child is your child, and your experience supersedes anything that any other astrologer, or any parenting expert might say. And so I do just want to give that disclaimer, but I definitely encourage you to go to the link below, grab that workbook. And as you're watching, if you find that you're really liking this video, if you're finding that the information that I'm sharing with you is really helpful, please do hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment. Those things are free. They're really quick and easy for you to do, but they truly make such a big difference for me and for the growth of this channel. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, guys, welcome back to Mom, Just Look at My Stars. And of course, I am not just speaking to moms here, dads, grandparents, even teachers, anyone who works with children. I am just so glad that you are interested in, setting aside maybe any presuppositions or any judgments that you have about astrology, because you want to do whatever it takes to be the parent that your children or that the children under your care deserve. And so I'm so glad that you are here. Again, my name is Janelle Lara. I'm a theologian. I'm an astrologer. And I am going to introduce you to the language of astrology and how you can use it to be the best caregiver to these beautiful souls that you can be. Okay, so we're going to start with an introduction to the language of astrology. So in order to set the foundation, I have to share my perspective on astrology and its intention. And by the way, if as you're watching this, you find yourself more interested or a little bit more intrigued about the combination of Christianity and astrology, I have a book coming out on December 3rd. It'll be available on Amazon, and it's called Magi from the East, How the Wise Men Challenged Christianity's Relationship with Astrology. And that will go over my entire academic thesis, my argument, my research on why I believe that astrology is a language of God, and that will totally break down the entire argument for you. So if you find yourself interested in what I'm saying on this slide and you want to learn more, that's the place to go. But okay, astrology is both a calendar and a language. It is the silent report that the actual phrase here is goes forth throughout all the earth in Psalms 19. That's the actual accurate phrasing. As a calendar, it marks the days and seasons as we see in Genesis 1. And as a language, it is a reflection of the energies here on earth. And the way that I like to say it is it's one of the languages that God uses to speak to us, to get in touch with us, to connect with us. So like all languages, it developed slowly over time. There's no single point of origin. And it's important to remember that the planets, stars, and cosmos do not cause events to occur. They communicate with us. They reflect what's already occurring. The stars give notice of events. And this is a quote that St. Augustine admitted in his famous work, City of God. And he was not even a fan of astrology, but he admitted that the stars give notice of events, but they can't predict the future. Okay, so that's really important to remember as you're going over your child's chart. If you see something where you're like, this makes me nervous or what have you. No. That's not the purpose of astrology. The purpose of astrology is to inform you, good and bad, light and dark, but we will not be able to predict the future. We cannot predict, health or illness or death or, good or bad. We cannot predict those things because God is supreme above all. And your child has free will and you have free will. So just you opening up your child's chart and being able to see all of the great and maybe not so great things, the energies that your child kind of came in with and aspects of your child's personality, that in and of itself will give you some information that you can use to support your child, maybe in the places where they are weaker. And it's just going to make that relationship with your child so much stronger, which will impact the way that these energies play out in your child's life. So, don't get scared. Don't let it make you nervous. It's all just information, okay? We might consider astrology an energetic weather report. So we, take weather forecasts all the time. I don't know about you, but I have an app on my phone that tells me what the weather is going to be for the next 10 days. That is kind of how I see astrology. It's a forecast. It's nothing too specific. And it's also things that we kind of already know. Like we know that in July, it's going to be hot in the Northern Hemisphere. We also know that because the sun is in Cancer, July is going to be a time where we all want to be home with our families, right? Like it's nothing really groundbreaking. And I think that you might find that too, as we're going over your child's chart in this course. A lot of it you might say, oh, I know this. Oh, I see this. Oh, like, yes, this actually does play out in their life. And it's because, like you live with your child, like these things, I'm not going to give you these insights that won't, like most of the insights won't necessarily be groundbreaking, right? Because again, you're their parent and you know them better than anyone. So I just wanted to say that as well. So just like with actual weather, there might be external pressure placed on us, but we ultimately, and your child will ultimately have the free will to choose how to respond and act. So a very important side note, in the story of the Magi, and again, I'm a Christian astrologer, so I'm coming from a Christian perspective. So in the story of the Magi, astrology led the Magi to Jerusalem, but they were only led directly to God after consulting with the high priests and scripture experts who were Jewish. So Jerusalem is only about 5 miles away from Bethlehem. So I say this because I just want to remind you that astrology gets you very close to God, but it does not take you all the way. So I don't want anyone watching this to, maybe you pull up your child's chart and you are so amazed by how accurate it is, right? I don't want you to become obsessed with astrology, and I don't want you to think that, the study of astrology can replace like prayer time and meditation and the time that you spend communing with God. Astrology is a tool. It's just a tool. No one needs astrology, but everyone needs God. And so I did just want to make that important point. It seems like I have a lot of disclaimers, so I hope you will bear with me while I share all of that with you. Okay, the goals for this course. So my goals for you are that you can find the big 3 aspects on your child's natal chart, and that you can use these aspects and 2 angles that I will show you to align your parenting style with the way that your child was created and the way that they desire to be loved. That is my whole goal for every single person watching this course. Now we're going to get into the actual language of astrology. And so I'm going to do my best to layer this information for you. So the first lesson that you're going to learn as you learn astrology is that astrology is like a clue game. Okay? Think of it like a clue game. So we have who did it, okay? So the planets, the asteroids, and the mathematical points are the characters in the story, okay? So think about an astrology chart as a story, okay? This is a story about a person or it's a story about an event. And the planets, asteroids, and mathematical points are the different characters in this story. Where did it happen? The houses, which we're going to go over all of this in depth, the houses represent the room or the part of a person's life where the scene took place. So the houses are the setting, okay? The house, wherever we're talking about, is the setting, and the planets or the asteroids or the mathematical points or the aspects are the characters. And then finally, what's the weather? What's the energy? What's the emotion of that setting and those characters? The energy of the space is defined by the zodiac sign, okay? So it represents the weather, emotion, or energy of the setting. A child who has, their first house, in Pisces with the sun is going to have a very different experience than a child who has the first house in Taurus, with their moon, right? And so I say that and it's okay if you don't know what that means, but I say that because you see how the place was the same, but the characters and the energy, the weather of the space were different. Okay, so the whole story changes when any of these factors are different, okay? So it's a little bit like a clue game. After a very basic overview of astrology, what I'm going to do in this course is I'm going to help you identify 5 crucial aspects in your child's chart. And to me, in my opinion, these are the 5 most important aspects to identify when you are seeking to discover how your child wants to be parented, okay? So we're going to talk about the sun. Everyone knows, most of you know your sun sign. Whether you're a Gemini or an Aries or a Scorpio, right? But most don't know the rest of your astrology chart, and there is so much information there. So if you're like, oh, I know my sun sign, but I don't really relate to it, it doesn't feel true for me, that's probably because there's a whole other world of your astrology chart that you just don't know. And that's all influencing one another. And so that could be why. So we're going to go a little bit deeper than your child's sun sign. We're going to go into their moon sign, which is their heart, who they really are inside. We're going to go to their rising sign. I'm going to teach you how to find their rising sign in their chart, which is not only what they're supposed to be moving towards, the direction they're supposed to be moving towards throughout their life, but also it's how they dawn on people and how people who don't really know them very well see them. And this is going to really, really help, in particular, those neurodivergent kids to recognize how they come across to people, and maybe you can support them in aligning that to the most authentic version of them and to the healthiest version of them. And then we're going to talk about their imam coeli, which is their sense of home. What does home feel like for your child? And my goal for this is for you to be able to see this energy and do your best to create the strongest and most secure sense of home for your child. And then finally, number 5, we're going to look at their descendant, and this is the angle of their relationships. Who are they attracted to? Who are they attracting into their life? And that way you can really guide your child as they start exploring friendships and relationships and really support them in finding the healthiest relationships for them. we are going to do the most basic review of astrology. I'm going to keep this really, really simple for you. So these are the 12 houses, okay? Those were the houses that I just discussed that act as the setting. They are the where. They are which room did it happen in the game of Clue, right? Where did this happen? And what aspect of life did this happen, or is this happening, or is this energy available for my child? Okay, so number one is the self, your appearance, beginnings, the body, first impressions. Number two is self-esteem, money, income, values, material possessions. Okay, number three is the mind, thinking, communication. Number three also represents early childhood, early education, and siblings. Okay, so this is going to be a big one for parents. Number four is home, roots, family, self-care. Okay, motherhood, children, right? This is really the fourth house, and this line in between the third and fourth house is really where your child feels at home, and we're going to come back to this. Number five is romance, play, children, creativity, fertility, having children, self-expression, art. Number six is health, fitness, systems, work. Your daily life is in the sixth house. The seventh house is your one-to-one relationships. So marriage, business partnerships, contracts, and even close friends we can find in the seventh house. The eighth house is all the things that are taboo, all the things that we're not supposed to talk about in polite company. So that would be death, sex, taxes, inheritances, wealth, and also like joint ventures. So whenever you're dealing with someone else's money, that information can be found in the eighth house. The ninth house is known as the house of God. So it's travel, wisdom, philosophy, higher education, right? And when I say travel, I mean long distance travel. The third house represents short distance travel. The ninth house is long distance travel and really like culture, right? So how cultured you are, how much you like to travel, where you want to travel, higher learning, so like college and beyond. What do you want to become an expert in? You'll find that in the ninth house. The 10th house is how you are seen in the world. So career, long-term goals, status, reputation, your public image. Okay. And it also represents men, father, experts, fame. But fame is also represented in the 11th house as well. So this is big groups of people. Okay, so this is friends, humanitarian issues, groups of friends, but it's also like your community, it's your church community, it's you, how you are out in the world with large groups of people. And then finally, 12, that is the house of endings, healing, closure. This is where your spiritual life lives. This is a very private part of you. It's your subconscious, it's your intuition, it's what's hidden, right? And even if you're looking for, what might be holding me back? What might, be some limiting beliefs that I have that are stopping me from fulfilling my potential. You could find that in the 12th house as well. Okay, so now we are going to discuss the planets. I'm going to go ahead and just fly through these because a lot of this, again, it's astrology basics, and this is stuff that you can find anywhere online. And I want to hurry up and get to the good stuff that only I can teach you. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll talk about the sun. So the sun is the overarching umbrella personality. This is how people know you. This is how your friends know you. And this, wherever the sun is placed in your chart, that is where you are meant to shine. That is where you are meant to be seen in all of your glory. And that's where your child is meant to be seen in all of their glory as well. And that's how people are going to see them, and that's how they're going to know them. And so again, it's especially vibrant depending on its house and influences. Now, the moon is your inner world. This is who you truly are. And a lot of people will never see your moon sign. And a lot of people actually deny their own moon sign, right? Because of trauma or what have you. So here is what I will tell you. Ideally, your child always feels safe enough to be in their moon sign with you, okay? What I find is that if a child does not experience big T trauma in their home during childhood, they will actually present in their moon sign until the age of 8, which is when our consciousness changes, right? And so, and that's typically when a child will start going to school and they'll start, presenting more in their sun and rising signs. But ideally, you always want your child to feel safe presenting in their moon sign with you. Now, if your child is already older, or if you have found that your child is, you don't see your child's moon sign in their behavior, I don't want you to be hard on yourself, because most of us have experienced some trauma. And a lot of times, mothers, as much as we try, we can't protect our children from some of the things that they experience. Throughout this course, I want to make sure that you are just receiving all of this as information. Don't judge yourself, don't judge your circumstances, and don't judge your child. I really, really want this to be information for you to use to support you as you are raising your children, and not, more ammunition that you use to judge yourself or to be hard on yourself as a parent, because we do that enough. And I really want to drive home the point that God gave you your child for a reason. You are the perfect parent for your child. And the fact that you are even watching this right now really it shows how much you love your child and how badly you want to be the perfect parent for them. And so, ideally, your child is in their moon sign, but there are things that you can do, and watching this video and implementing it is one of them. There are things that you can do in order to create this safe environment such that your child feels safe enough to lean back into their moon sign when they are at home with you. But the moon sign is an inner world. It is not meant for the outside world. And so don't expect your child to stay in this forever, and don't expect them to feel like they have to express their moon sign when they are out in the world, unless their moon sign is conjunct their rising or their sun, in which case it is part of what they are meant to express out in the world, and in which case that's totally fine. Okay, Mercury is how you communicate, learn, think, and speak. Venus is love, beauty, femininity. Venus is a very feminine sign. It can also represent the mother. If your child was born during the day, Venus represents the mother figure. So it's attraction, motherhood, as well as nurturing. And then Mars is the more masculine sign. So it's masculinity, war, aggression, assertiveness, energy. It's very, it's a forward moving, action taking planet. So that is what Mars represents. Jupiter is expansion, abundance, wealth, magnanimity. It's the big daddy. Okay. Jupiter is like the one showering gifts, showering blessings in your child's chart. And it's going to be the benevolent king archetype. And then Saturn represents restriction, discipline, consequences. Saturn represents timing. Okay, so Saturn is going to make sure that that you are successful. It's a huge success sign, but it has to be at the right time and it has to be in the right way. Okay, so Saturn is going to Saturn doesn't always feel good. People talk about Saturn as what we call a malefic in astrology. It doesn't feel good, but it is good because it forces you to do things the right way. Whereas Jupiter really doesn't. Jupiter is known as a benefic, and it just expands whatever's there, right? Even if it's not so good, right? And so that's good that we have them both because they counteract each other. Uranus is all about authenticity, revolution, fairness, equity, technology, advancement, moving forward, shaking things up, revolution, right? Neptune is about dreams, God, the spiritual realm, attunement to the divine. But Neptune can also represent mental illness. That's more of the shadow side. Neptune it's kind of hard to put your finger on, but it is very ethereal, and it's very, very intuitive. It rules the 12th house, which is that house of like secrets and intuition and things you can't see. But it does represent your connection to God as well. And then Pluto is death and rebirth, transformation, power, the hero's journey. Pluto makes you go through hell to get what you want, but you come out like a phoenix and you're transformed. So it's another one that doesn't feel amazing, but it is good for you in that sense. All right, so those were all of the planets. Technically, Pluto, I think they still qualify it as a dwarf planet. But now we're going to move on to the asteroids and the mathematical points. Not all charts will show these. And so you might not actually, like when you go to lightfill.co/free charts, which I will link down below to pull your chart, they might not even show all of these, but I'm going to go ahead and go through them just so you know them, in case you end up figuring out these asteroids, because I actually think that they're kind of important and good to know. So Chiron, I would say, is probably the biggest and most important one to know. And I know for a fact that this one will be present in whatever chart that you pull. So Chiron is the wounded healer. Okay, this is the Christ energy in your chart. This is where Christ is in your chart. And so it has kind of a dual meaning. On the one hand, this is where you tend to feel inadequate, and this is where you tend to overcompensate. So you might experience a lot of suffering here, but the knowledge that you gain from the suffering enlightens you so that you can be a guide for others. Okay. So it's really this idea of you experience a deep wounding wherever Chiron is, so that you can then master that lesson and teach it to others. Okay. Where it's the Christ-like energy is that's where you might feel like you're being crucified in order to give the world a gift, right? Chiron is also where Christ is in your chart, which I think is beautiful because it really represents like where your deepest wounding is, where your hardest moments are. Christ is right there with you, and he's walking that path with you, which I think is just absolutely amazing. Vesta represents the virgins keeping the flames alive. That's what it meant in Greek and Roman society. And so this is where you tend to overextend yourself. It's where you tend to work overtime, but it's because you love it, right? Like this is what you never, wherever Vesta is in your chart, it's like this is what you could never get bored of. This is what you could do forever and always, but you do tend to overdo it. And so that's something to watch out for. Hygeia, the root word of is the root word of hygiene, and that represents health, routine, and self-care. And so wherever Hygeia is in your or your child's chart, that is what self-care means to them. Pallas is a victory. It looks like a trophy. You can see it right here. This is where you're going to experience awards for your efforts. It's also the strategist. This is how you think, okay? This is like the smart girl. So Juno represents the wife of Zeus, and that represents marriage and money and success. But it also represents loyalty. And if you remember the old stories, the Greco-Roman stories of the gods, Zeus was not very loyal to Juno. And so there was a Roman name for her that I can't remember what it is right now, but Zeus was not very loyal to his wife, but his wife, Hera, I think is her name. So Zeus was not very loyal to Hera, which are the Roman names for Jupiter and Juno, but she was loyal to him. And so it represents being really, really loyal in your relationships. And so wherever that Juno is in a chart, you will find that you experience a lot of loyalty to that area of your life. And then finally, Ceres in Roman gods represents Persephone. So that's grief. And also, because remember, Persephone grieved her mother because she was away from her for half the year. But it also represents the seasons, connection to nature, and those spiritual gifts, and the ability to withstand hardship and persevere. Okay, finally, we have the nodes, and the nodes are very, very important, in particular in natal astrology and in personal astrology. I'm not going to talk about the nodes when it comes to your child's chart because I don't think they're part of like the big five that you need to know. But if I were to add a number 6, I would put the nodes right there underneath the big five. These are really, really important. So here's a little bit of information about the nodes. If you are interested, you can press pause and read if you like details. But basically, the North Node is where you're going. This is the life path. This is where God wants you to go in your life, okay? And where God wants your child to go in his or her life. The South Node is where you have come from. They're directly opposite in the astrology chart. So this is the gifts and talents which come naturally to you and to your child. This is what feels easy for you. And this represents ancestral gifts, but it also represents ancestral baggage. The South Node is the comfort zone, and you or your child might feel very tempted to stay where the South Node is, but that's not what you're meant to do. Just because it feels good doesn't mean you're meant to stay there. You are meant to go where the North Node is, which might feel less comfortable, but that is where you are going to accomplish your life's mission and purpose and what you were created for. Okay, I am going to go over a couple of other mathematical points. Again, this is all part of the astrology basics. And so I'm going to fly through this because this is in the workbook, and you can also pause and look a little bit more closely at everything here. But I do still think that it is important to acknowledge all of these aspects, and in particular, the mathematical points and the angles, because these points are very sensitive in your children's lives. And so I think that it will be helpful for you to know these. So the first one is Black Moon Lilith. This is the point of the moon's furthest orbit. This is a fictional mathematical point in the mythology of Lilith. You know, for Christians, Lilith represents a demon. In mythology, Lilith was the other wife of Adam. Okay, so Lilith represents sort of a dark point in anyone's chart. And I don't say that to scare you because it's just information, right? Lilith tends to be the point in your life, the place in your life where other people experience the worst of you, okay? And a lot of times we don't want to admit it. We don't want to look there, okay? Because we don't want to admit that about ourselves. However, isn't it good to know, right? Like, isn't it good to have that information so that you can work on yourself and heal yourself? And so on the light side, Lilith represents sort of like this shaman, represents this mama bear. It's this wild, fierce, feminine energy, but it tends to be a little bit darker, and it really tends to be the place where darkness can enter your life and where you are the most vulnerable to, falling to your ego or falling to darkness. And so it's really good information to have, in particular for you. Now, White Moon Selene is the point of the moon's closest orbit, and it represents the best of femininity, okay? It's the ideal wife, it's the ideal mother, the gentle, nurturing, kind, loving woman, okay? And not to say that we don't love a warrior woman. That's a part of being feminine as well. That Amazon woman that Lilith represents, that is a huge and important part of being female. However, the White Moon Selene represents the mother that we all want to be and the mother that we wish we had, right? So it's that mother who just loves you, who just adores you, who makes your favorite meal every time you come home, who thinks that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? That it's like the Italian mother, right? Who just adores you. That's White Moon Selene. And so wherever you see that in your chart, or in your child's chart, that's where you're going to experience a huge amount of integrity. And that's where people are going to see the best of you. So that's a really, really great point as well. And the part of fortune is X marks the spot. That is the treasure on earth. That is where you and your child are going to find the most joy, where you're going to experience great fortune, good luck. And so that's a really, really great mathematical point. And then finally, we get to the angles. And let me just show you. Let me see if I can quickly go back to the houses. Yep, right there. Okay, so the houses are, there's 12 of them, okay? And I want you to think about this cross that they make. So between 12 and 1 and 6 and 7, there's a line. And then between 9 and 10 and 3 and 4, there's a line. Okay, those 4 spots represent the angles of a chart. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about here when I share about the angles. Okay, so your rising sign is the angle in between house 1 and 12. Okay, that is the sign in which the sun was rising on the eastern horizon. So if you are born at sunrise, your rising will be the same as your sun sign, okay? But it's where the sun was rising, okay? On the day that in the moment that you were born. This is what you are attracting to you. It cusps your first house. This represents what you look like. First impressions, how you come off to other people, how you dawn on people, okay? Think about dawn, how you dawn on people, okay? The Imam Coily, we are going to talk about this when we talk about where your children and how your children experience home. The Imam Coily is the IC. It represents the bottom of the sky. That's between house 3 and house 4, okay? This is very private. This is where you feel comfortable and safe, okay? Think about where you are at midnight. You're home, you're snuggled up in your bed. You are where you feel the most comfortable, okay? That is the IC. The descendant is between houses 6 and 7 in the chart, and that is where the sun is setting on the western horizon on the day that you were born. And this is the people that you attract to you. These are the relationships that you're attracted to. And this is also where your lunar return begins, which that is a whole nother level of astrology that we won't get into today, but think 6 p.m. Okay. So this is where you're gathering with your friends, those you love, those one-on-one relationships. Maybe you're having dinner, right? Like who do you usually have dinner with? People that you're close to, right? If we're meeting up with people, for work, we're meeting up at lunch or we're grabbing coffee, but no, at dinner, you tend to be having dinner with people who you love, who you feel an intimacy with, where you have those one-on-one relationships. So that's your descendant. Okay, it's opposite your ascendant or your rising sign. Those are two names for the same phenomenon. Finally, we get to the midheaven, the top of the sky, the MC, which is between houses 9 and 10. And that is where you shine. That is, think 12 noon. Think the middle of the day, the highest point of the sky. Okay, that is where how you are seen by the world. That's your life mission, what you're going to be known for. Okay, it cusps the house of kings. It's the house of God and the house of kings. Okay, that is your MC. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about are these zodiac signs. That's the weather. So we've talked about the houses and we have talked about the players, right? So we've talked about the setting and the players and the characters in our story. Now we're going to talk about the weather report. What's the weather like in each of these settings? Okay, what is the energy? What's the emotion like? So you've probably heard of a lot of these if you have looked up and read yours or your friends' sun signs, right? So Aries represents independence, beginnings. It's the spring equinox. It's a cardinal sign. It's a fire element. It's ruled by Mars. Aries loves to lead. They're a quick start, and they like to do before they think, right? Taurus is a fixed earth sign. So Taurus represents pleasure, beauty, abundance, food, nature. Taurus loves comfort. Home is very, very important to Taurus. Gemini is a mutable air sign. So that means that Geminis are intellectual, witty, charming, funny. They may have a gift for languages. They're very, very communicative, and they tend to know everybody within their local community. They're great connectors. And Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Cancer is the sign of the mother. Okay, it is a cardinal water sign, so sort of a leading sign, but very emotional, nurturing, compassionate, intuitive. Think about the crab, right? It has claws, so it will protect this mama will protect its babies, but it's very soft inside. Okay, it's ruled by the moon. Leo is a fixed fire sign. Leo is the leader, the lion, social, outgoing, popular, generous, a natural leader that is ruled by the sun. Wherever Leo is in your chart, you want to shine there, in addition to wherever the sun is in your chart. Finally, Virgo is a mutable earth sign. They're intelligent, analytical, detail-oriented, grounded, health-conscious. They love order and cleanliness. On the dark side, they can be critical and judgmental and perfectionistic. So you probably know who is the Virgo in your life because they like to tell us that they are Virgos because they wear it as a badge of honor to be so detail-oriented and nuanced and all of the things that Virgo is. But Virgos can be a little bit difficult for the rest of us, even though we love them. And truly, the world would not spin the world would not be the same without Virgos. That is for sure. Okay, Libra is a cardinal air sign, so another kind of leading sign, and it's ruled by Venus. Libra is romantic, relationship-oriented, idealistic, intellectual, friendly, compassionate. This is the queen archetype. Libras, beauty is very important to Libras, and they seek pleasure and comfort. Scorpio is a fixed water sign, so deeply intuitive, and it's ruled by two planets. It's ruled by Pluto and Mars. Mars is the more ancient planet that ruled it, and then when Pluto was discovered, Pluto sort of replaced Mars. I think it's a co-ruler. Scorpios are intelligent, intuitive, and they are attracted to wealth and power, and they are determined to find the truth, okay? Truth is very, very important to Scorpio. Finally, Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign. So they are passionate, flexible, adventurous, very independent, very generous. Sagittarius, think about like the holiday season, right? Sagittarians love to party. They love being around. They love long distance travel. They love spirituality, culture, law, philosophy, languages, traveling to different countries. Sagittarius is, your fun friend, okay? Capricorn is a cardinal earth sign ruled by Saturn. So they're very disciplined, practical, hardworking, traditional. Capricorn likes to create a stable foundation for themselves and those around them. And it represents the father. Okay, think about a father figure. Finally, Aquarius, not finally, almost finally, Aquarius is a fixed air sign. So they're almost from the future, okay? Aquarius is innovative, intelligent, they excel in science and technology. They're independent, but they also have a heart for humanity and they want to make the world a better place. Aquarius tends to be revolutionary, they're progressive, and they love being catalysts for change. And then finally, we have Pisces. That's a mutable water sign. So Pisces is ruled by Neptune. It's emotional, it's ethereal, it's spiritual, it's empathetic. It's very connected to the divine, and it's just a very fluid sign, but it's so fluid that it almost doesn't have boundaries. So Pisces really need to watch out for taking on other stuff a little bit too much. And Pisces can be prone to escapism and mental health issues if you are not careful. So we went over our clue game. We went over the houses of where things take place and the setting. We went over the characters that kind of play in each of these houses. And then we've gone over the weather or the kind of emotion that we can expect to experience in each house. Okay. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and transition into kind of like the big five that you are going to want to know when you are looking up your child's chart. And I am going to go ahead and I'm going to show you two of my children's charts so that you can see how this plays out for me as a parent, okay? So we are going to go over the moon signs very, very carefully. And then I will save the sun, rising, descendant, and imam coeli to show you as examples in my children's charts, okay? Because, it will get repetitive going over each of the 12 possible sun, moon, and rising signs and descendant and the imam coeli, because depending on the time of day and when your child was born, each of these aspects could be in all 12 zodiac signs, and I don't want to bore you guys to death. So we're going to go over the moon signs in depth because that really is who your child truly is on the inside. And then I'm going to show you by example how I look at the big five and how that influences my parenting. Maybe this is a good time to say, I have thought about offering natal chart readings in particular for parents and their children. If you are interested in that, drop me a comment below. And if I get enough comments, I might open that up for you guys. I'm not sure if I want to do that, but if I get enough interest, then maybe I will. Okay, so let's go over the different moon signs. So we are specifically going to talk about these zodiac signs that we just addressed. So this is the weather, this is the emotion, this is the energy surrounding their child's moon and who they truly are. Okay, we're going to start with the Aries moon child. I will tell you, I have two Aries moon children. It is not for the faint of heart. Okay, the Aries moon child is the brave child. This child is independent, high energy, and braver than most, okay? They are willing to go first. They are not afraid. They're not even afraid of a little conflict, okay? A lot of times, these children are mislabeled as ADD, as high conflict children. They are mislabeled as disobedient, when really this child just needs a lot of freedom, and they need the opportunity to use up their energy because they have plenty of energy to go around. The Taurus moon child loves comfort and pleasure. So food, a relaxing home, beautiful things will be very important to them. This child will be extremely upset if their things are not where they left them, if their home doesn't feel like a home, right? Or if it's constantly changing, or if there's a lot of chaos in the home, that will particularly impact the Taurus moon child. So if you have a Taurus moon child, you want to create a stable home environment, a comfortable home environment for them. And they will be very aware of how they look too. That will be very important to them. The Gemini moon child, this child loves to talk. This child is curious, communicative, and witty. This child loves friends. This child loves their siblings. They want to spend time with you. They want chit chat, right? Very funny, very communicative, very, very curious. This child will ask a lot of questions, okay? So do not be annoyed when they ask you questions. This child was born to be curious, okay? Cancer, this is the nurturing child. This child is compassionate. This child is intuitive. This child might even be a highly sensitive child. So that's something to watch out for. This child might be really attached to mom. This child might, cry easily. Do not shame them for that, okay? That is them feeling very safe with you, okay? And it's the way that they were designed to be with you. The Leo child. The Leo child is the performer. They love to be the center of attention. They're social, they're outgoing, they're popular, they're willing to try new things, and they love to be the leader. The Leo child loves to shine. Obviously, teach them to respect others, teach them to be generous, but they're meant to lead, they're meant to shine. So let them. Make sure that you don't squash that as you're teaching them how to kind of function in the world, right? Virgo is intelligent, analytical, detail-oriented. This child, more than others, will be very hard on themselves. They will be, the Virgo moon person takes all of the criticism that a Virgo sun tends to project on others. The Virgo moon turns that criticism around on themselves. Okay, so this child will be very hard on themselves. They will be self-conscious. And the danger of Virgo moon children is that if the parent does not recognize this in them, they will find a partner eventually who is very critical of them because it mirrors and reflects the way that they feel about themselves. So with this Virgo moon child, it is very important that you help them recognize the wonderful things about themselves and help them recognize that everyone makes mistakes, that they don't have to be perfect, and watch as they're choosing friends and partners. Make sure that they are not choosing hypercritical partners because Virgo moon children don't need any more criticism, okay? The Libra moon sign. So the Libra moon child, this child loves balance, fairness, kindness, equality. They are compassionate, they're gentle. Their friendships and their relationships are crucial, and they might actually put a little bit too much emphasis on their relationships. This might end up being the child who maybe gets into relationships a little bit too young, or who seems very dependent on their friends for their joy and happiness. So an important part of raising a Libra moon child will be helping them balance this notion of relationships. And it doesn't help because they're going to be naturally beautiful. They're going to seek pleasure and comfort often in relationships. So really supporting this child in recognizing that they are perfect in and of themselves, and that relationships and friendships and romantic relationships eventually get to be a beautiful part of their life, but are not crucial to a good life, is going to be really, really important. But this child, you're going to need to be very fair as a parent. And if you do something wrong, you are going to need to apologize. Okay. This child is going to be particularly hurt if they perceive that something is not fair. Okay. The Scorpio moon child is the deeply intuitive child. This is another tough one. Scorpio children are intelligent and powerful, and they often carry this inherent deep pain inside because they are going to love deeply, and they're going to love passionately, and they're going to seek to know others. And just the other signs, we just don't go as deep as the Scorpio moon. And so they're going to feel hurt, and they might shut themselves off from their own heart and their own intuition because they don't want to experience that pain of others not seeking to know them as much as they want to be known. And so it's really, really important. If you are the parent of a Scorpio moon child, you need to pursue that child. They are going to ask you, and they're going to want you to deeply know them. And reading their astrology chart is going to be a great place to start. Sagittarius moon child. So this child is passionate, flexible, and adventurous. They're very independent, very generous. This is going to be the child that if you want to rock their world when they're a little bit older, wake them up and say, hey, we're going on an adventure, and pack them a bag and go to the airport and just find a flight to anywhere and just be like, okay, this is where we're going today. And you just fly there and fly back, right? That would be the adventure of a lifetime. This is how you show a Sagittarius that you love them. It's through adventure. It's through fun. It's through being outside. It's through just having an adventure and travel, and encouraging them to learn about what they want to learn about, right? The Sagittarius, again, it's your fun friend. I have a friend who is a double Sagittarius, and she says everyone needs a happy Sag in their life, right? And it's so, so true. This is the happy, fun friend. Capricorn is the old soul. Okay, so if your child has a Capricorn moon, they are going to be the old soul. They're going to be practical, hardworking, traditional. They're going to want a stable foundation. They're going to want stability, and they might be very attached to their father or to male figures in their life. Okay, so this is going to be the one that everyone can depend on. So what you need to watch out for if you have a Capricorn moon child, you need to make sure that they do not burden themselves with everyone else's problems, okay? Just because they can handle it doesn't mean that they should, okay? So that's something to watch out for. The Aquarius moon child is very innovative and intelligent. This child marches to the beat of their own drum. They're independent, but they do care deeply about the world. They might seem a little bit weird and they might be neurodivergent, but that is who they are meant to be. And so whatever it is that your Aquarius child turns out to be or turns out to be interested in, as best as you can, as long as it's safe and healthy for them, really support them in following their kind of weird quirks, because their path is going to look different from everyone else's, but that's the path that they're meant to walk. It's this strange, different path that will end up leading where no one else has gone, and that's going to be their gift to the world, okay? And then finally, the Pisces. This is the spiritual child. The Pisces moon child is a sensitive, emotional, and empathetic child. They are very connected to the divine. So listen to them when they tell you about dreams that they've had or maybe visions, or teach them how to pray, right? This is going to be a child who the boundaries between the physical world and the spiritual world might be a little bit blurred, okay? And so this child might also be prone to escapism and mental health issues. This child might need a lot of alone time. If you find that this child seems a little bit withdrawn, if they need a lot of alone time, if they struggle being around a lot of energy, right? Let that child decompress. Let that child have their quiet time, have their alone time. It's going to be very, very good for them. Wow, wow, wow. That is a lot. I feel like I am chasing the light. There we go. That's better. I've added a little bit of light to my room so that hopefully you can see me a little bit better. But I want to show you how I put all of this into practice when I am analyzing the charts of my own children. So I am going to show you the chart of two of my children, okay? And so we are going to take a look at all of the amazingness that they have. And I'm going to show you how you can take all of the information that you have learned today and apply it to your child as well. Okay, so remember that we are talking about the big fives. We're talking about sun, moon, rising, descendant, and imam coeli. That is what I'm going to show you here in my daughter's chart. So we are going to start with her sun, okay? Her sun is right here in the first house in Aquarius, okay? So the first house, remember, that is the place. That is where, which room was it in, right? It is in the first house. That is the house of her, right? Of herself, of who she is meant to be. In this case, it is cusping the second house. It's only 1 degree away. You can see it's 7 degrees in the first house, but the second house, it starts at 8 degrees. It shows you right here. And so this is a first/second house sun. So for my daughter, it is very, very important for her to be able to express herself, to be who she is. Hopefully, she will think very highly of herself. And she is an Aquarius, so she is meant to march to the beat of her own drum. She's very intelligent. She's very intellectual. She is very innovative, right? And so I just can't wait to see, who she becomes and, what she does in her life as she grows into this person who is, innovative and future-oriented and cares deeply about humanity. Okay, that is who she's going to be in the world. But who she is going to be at home with me is her moon sign. So we're going to find the moon glyph, which is right here, this little brown guy right here. And her moon is in Aries. This is one of my Aries children. And so I will tell you, this child has got a pair of lungs. She can scream. She is very active. She is very energetic. She is like a warrior child. She has her battle cry all ready to go. She's only 2.5 at this point, almost 3. But she is a force to be reckoned with, an independent child who is really, she is not afraid of anybody. So that is my Aries child. And so for me as a mother, number one, it's going to be really, really important that the people around her, her teachers, that everyone understands and respects the fact that she is just this energetic ball of fire. It's also going to be really important that that I respect and love and that I witness this energy and this almost ferociousness about her. So as soon as she starts being this like sort of muted child, as soon as she starts acting like my oldest, which we'll talk about in a second, but who is a very obedient child, who is a very like, yes, ma'am, right? As much as I, as a mother, might really want that, that is not who she is. She is meant to be this fireball. Okay. So not that, I expect her to be this ferocious ball of fire all the time. And she certainly is not. She's actually my most snuggly child, believe it or not. But I want to see a spark in her. And if I start not seeing a spark, that's going to be a warning sign for me that something's amiss. Okay. So that's really, really important. Number 3 of the big 3 that we're looking for. So imagine this is your child's chart, is we're looking at the ascendant or the rising sign. Okay. That is this arrow right here in between the 1st and 12th houses. Okay. That is the ascendant. And as you can see here, and this is how they dawn on people, how they show up in the world, what they attract to them. For my child, it is in the in the sign of Capricorn. Okay. So this is good. This will offer some groundedness, some earth to my air and fire baby. Okay. So she looks a lot like her father, because remember, the 1st house rules what you look like. And so Capricorn is the house of the father. So everyone says it. She looks like her father, which my other children do not. So that's really fun for him. And it gives a sense of groundedness. She attracts very grounded people into her life, and she will show up as a grounded person, which will be really, really, again, good for her, being that she has so many other signs and so many other elements, right? And so it is going to be important for me as her mother to push her towards a sense of stability, to really encourage her to be grounded, maybe to go for hikes, right? Like whenever she's getting a little bit too fireball, a little bit too Aquarius, like way out here in space, to bring her down to earth, to push her outside, right? To encourage her to get some of that energy outside in the earth. That is going to be really, really supportive for me as her mother to do for her. Okay, so number 4 is the descendant. Okay, the descendant, that is all the way over here on the other side of the ascendant, directly opposite between the 6th and 7th houses. And so her descendant is in Cancer. That is the sign of the mother. So she is going to, as she gets older, she is going to attract a lot of nurturing friends, some more emotional friends to kind of balance out her very grounded and fiery nature. She's going to attract water signs, and she is going to be attracted to someone, remember, opposites attract. She's going to be attracted to someone who is a little bit more emotional, who is a little bit more sensitive, and who really can help take care of her, because she does not have a lot of nurturing aspects here. And so she is going to attract people who are going to encourage her to lean more into her nurturing side. And so that is really, really good. As she's growing up, I'm going to look at her friends, and I'm going to make sure that they are nurturing her, that they are, bringing her emotions out of her in a really healthy way. Now, if I see that her friends are, showing the negative aspects of Cancer, so they are martyrs, or they're overly emotional and they're depending on her to be a source of stability, or if they are projecting their, emotions onto her, that is what I'm going to watch out for as her mother. I'm going to make sure that her friends are not projecting their emotions onto my very grounded, very intelligent daughter. Okay. Last but not least, this might be the most important of these aspects other than the moon. Number 5 of the big 5 is the imam coeli, okay? The bottom of the sky. That is going to be opposite the midheaven down here in between the 3rd and the 4th house. Okay, that is right here. And as you can see, there is a whole party going on down here. But we are going to focus on this kind of darker line in between the 3rd and 4th house. This is how my child feels at home. And lucky for her and for me, her moon is conjunct her descendant. And so she feels at home within herself, within her moon sign. So that is very, very good that she feels comfortable with her moon and with her heart. Okay. But it is in Aries. That means that she is going to need to be able to express a lot of energy, a lot of passion. She's going to, really delight in having challenges to overcome, and home for her feels like a place where she is safe to try new things, to be her brave self, to really express herself and express her independence. So for me, this is a challenge because I am a Capricorn imam coeli. I love a very stable home. I love schedules. I love sameness. I love tradition. And I love this grounded sense of home. She is an Aries imam coeli. So for her, home is wherever she can be her brave, fiery, independent self. And so this is great information for me as her mother because because I can feel at peace knowing that out in the world she's going to be really good in school. She's going to be a model student. She's going to be very grounded, but I need to let her come home and get it all out and run around in circles and make messes and just be who she is. And so now that I see this as her mother, I can encourage that for her rather than trying to discipline it out of her. Okay. So I hope that me walking you through my daughter's chart helped you as you are going over your child's chart, and it helped you kind of see, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and this is how I get to read those clues. We're going to do this one more time with my oldest daughter's chart. And now that I'm looking at it, it's a little blurry. I hope it does not look blurry for you, but you should be able to see everything okay. So this is my oldest daughter's chart. This is the child who is a lot more like me, I have to say. So I feel very comfortable with this child. And isn't that how it goes, right? Like those of us who have multiple children, it is so common that one of them in particular, oftentimes the oldest, will remind us of us. And I think God does that on purpose. I think God gives us kind of an easier transition into parenthood. Our oldest child tends to be very conscientious, tends to be a lot more like us, tends to be very familiar to us energetically. And then you get your second child, right? And it's like totally different, totally opposite. And God's like, haha, here you go. Like, welcome to actual parenting now, right? And so that is what it has been like for me, for sure. But just so you can see a completely opposite chart, we're going to look at my oldest. So my oldest child is a Scorpio sun. And so you can see that right down here. She is a Scorpio sun. And so what does that mean? That means that this child is deeply intuitive. This child is very in tune with her emotions, right? And this child really wants to know, wants to get to the bottom of things, right? And so when she's interested in something, she says, Mom, can you look this up on your phone? She'll ask Alexa, hey, and she'll ask questions about the things that she is interested in. This sun sign is in her house of home. And so, but it is this, my children tend to be cuspy, don't they? Because it is cusping the 5th house. I have a feeling, so my child definitely loves being at home and she loves babies and she's very artistic and creative. I have a feeling that as this child gets older, I'm certainly not going to project it on her. This is just something that I'm keeping in the back of my mind. I think she's going to really love being a mother. I think she's going to really love being at home. And I think she's going to really appreciate being able to create a warm and beautiful home for herself and for her future family potentially. So that is just gorgeous. My daughter's moon sign is right here, also in the fourth house. Wow, I'm realizing there's a lot of similarities between these children that I thought were so different. I had never looked at their charts side by side like this before. My daughter's moon sign is right here, and it is in Libra. Okay, remember Libra. Libra is balanced. Libra is relationship oriented. Libra is all about fairness, okay, beauty. So my daughter loves her friends. She loves her friends, and she really, really wants things to be fair. And so it is really, really important for me when I am with my daughter, if I am punishing her, or if, there's a conflict between her and her sisters that I need to, help them work through, it's really, really important that I let her share her side. And that even if I'm disciplining her for some reason, that I explain to her why this discipline makes sense. And, maybe I explain to her why I'm upset by what she did or why what she did was wrong. And she is very easily persuaded by logic. Like if she can see why this is fair, or she can see why what she did was wrong, that's really, really crucial for a Libra moon, is that sense of fairness. And so for me, it's going to be really important to make sure that as I'm raising this child, that she feels like I am a safe and fair place for her to live, right? Okay, so then we're going to go to the rising sign, or the ascendant, and it is at the tail end of Cancer. So yes, Cancer is the sign of the mother. Everyone says she looks just like me. My child is very nurturing. She is a very, very good friend. And so, when people meet her, they just love her. She's lovely. She is just, this beautiful, very mature child. However, it's going to be really, really important to me to observe my child, and just to make sure that she does not become a martyr, and to observe my child and make sure that people do not take advantage of her emotional sensitivity, of her kindness, and of her nurturing nature. Okay. Now we're going to go, let's see, we did sun, moon, rising. We're going to go to the descendant. Okay, so the descendant is exactly opposite of the ascendant over here in Capricorn. Okay, her descendant is in Capricorn. She is going to be very attracted to manly men. She is going to, I think, probably be pretty interested in marriage, maybe even at a younger age. And so I'm going to watch out for that. I'm just going to keep an eye on that for her. She is very, very beautiful. And, as I think we talked about, Libras and Taurus moons tending to be very attractive. She's very beautiful. So I'm going to keep an eye on that for her. But she attracts people to her who are very grounded, who are stable, who are sturdy. And that is perfect for her, because this is a water sign, this is an air sign, and this is a water sign. So that sense of groundedness is going to be very, very good for her. And so as I am watching her friends, I am going to observe, and I'm going to make sure that her friends who are coming to her, that they are grounded, that they're steady, that they have the kind of same traditional values that we have. If her friends are overly emotional, if her friends are overly dependent on her to be the nurturing mama bear, that might not be supportive for her. So I am going to watch that as she grows up. And then finally, again, we get to what I would say is the second most important aspect, which is the Imam Coily, directly opposite of the MC, in between the third and fourth house. And her Imam Coily is in Libra. Okay, so this is great for all of us, because I am a Libra rising. And so for her, home is this beautiful, balanced, fair space. While I am not naturally the best homemaker, I do tend to like beautiful things. And so I do try to keep the house, mostly tidy. I'm not always successful, but I try. And I do try to make the home a peaceful place. And peace is very, very important for Libras. They want peace, they want harmony, they don't want a lot of arguing, okay? While my husband and I, we are not perfect, okay? We are both Hispanic. So there does tend to be more conflict than I would like in our home. However, we really, really try to, keep it as conflict free as possible. And so for my daughter, it's really, really important that she has a beautiful, peaceful, soft place to land where she can feel very safe to be in relationship with those around her. And so that is going to be very, very important. And it's also opposite of what my other daughter needs. The daughter who has an Aries Imam Coily. She needs a place where she can be crazy, where she can be who she is, where she can make mistakes, where she can run around and get some of that fiery energy out. This daughter needs a peaceful place. So what does that mean? That means that this child has a cupboard where she keeps her special toys that no one else gets to touch. Hi guys. Okay, right at the very end of me recording that whole big masterclass, my microphone cut out. And so the last part of that video and then also the entire concluding statement that I had recorded did not pick up audio, but thank goodness it was like literally right at the very end. So I didn't have to re-record the whole thing, but I just wanted to pop back in here and just say thank you so much for watching that video, for getting through this masterclass. It's a topic that is so near and dear to my heart. To me, it really feels like the best use of astrology. I have friends, just like mom friends in my neighborhood all the time who will bring up like, oh, my child, I'm struggling. They have ADD, whatever. And I just love being able to look at their chart, look at their child's chart, and just be able to give them some tips and tricks to support their parenting journey. And so now you have all of those. And I just want to remind you that the Mom Just Look at My Stars workbook is available for download just below. And I will tell you, I had intended on creating a campaign where you put in your email. And I decided during editing, I was like, you know what? I'm not really in a place where I want to be creating this big email list right now. I don't really know what I would do with it. I have some ideas for things that I want to do and, ways that I might want to communicate with you all more in the future outside of YouTube. But I'm just not ready for that yet. And I just didn't want to unnecessarily complicate the process. And so that link is available right below. It is a Google Doc, you guys. You don't even need to put in your email address. Just click the link below. You can print it out or you can make a copy to get your own, to add it to your Google Drive. I just hope that it helps you. And I hope that if you like this, the biggest thing that you can do for me to say thank you, if you liked this video and if you feel like you got some value out of it, is to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who you think needs this information. So thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.